Really good things out there tonight. Saw some things that we obviously need to clean up and do better. But if the kids keep working and giving us the effort that they've given us up until this point, I'm excited about the direction that this thing is moving. So with that, I'll take some questions.
Will you name a #1 quarterback before fall, and if not, how quickly do you want to get that settled?
You know, I think it's talking depth chart is probably premature at this point. Probably more so than anything because we're installing. And when you're installing new stuff offensively and defensively, it's hard to judge someone too much until everybody's familiar with the scheme and the system, and then you can just look at them based on how well they're playing. But there's a learning curve for that. Some guys are going to pick some things up faster than others, and we'll probably make most of those decisions in the fall.
So, is it important for you to get that decided quickly in the fall? Would you like to get that, decided so you know who the #1 guy is quick, or how important is that to you?
That's not that important to us. Coming up with a depth chart isn't that important. At most positions, with the pace we play at, a lot of guys are going to have to play. Secondly, one of the great things about practicing the way we do is with as many reps as we take, it becomes pretty clear to everybody, including the players, who the best guys are, and it usually takes care of itself.
Speaking of quarterback, what kind of spring do you think Justin and Nick had at that position?
I was, pleased with both of them, pleased with the quarterback position. When you're learning the new offense, it's toughest on the quarterback. They have to know everything. And sometimes, until you get familiar with this offense, it's hard to really be productive because you have to be one step ahead mentally. You have to process things so quickly. You don't have time to sit in a huddle and think about a play and think about what you do versus certain coverages and think about protections. It's all just got to happen in a very short amount of time. So sometimes that can be overwhelming when you're learning this for the first time. But I've been pleased with them, and I think their play will continue to improve drastically as they get more familiar with what we're doing.
Were you pleased with the tempo that you had today? You guys had today?
The tempo wasn't bad. We can make it go even faster, but it wasn't bad. And really, throughout the spring, I was impressed with how quickly they adopted the pace we want to play at. We're not to the point we want to be, but from day one, the guys went out and tried to go as fast as we wanted them to. Now the execution within that tempo has to get a lot better. One of the advantages of playing fast is when we're used to playing at that tempo, we can execute and do things well at that pace because we're conditioned to do it when other teams might not be. Right now we're still not conditioned to execute and do our jobs and do it well within our pace, and the more reps we can get, the better we'll get at that.
Coach, the biggest spring game crowd ever. A lot of former players here. Why do you think there was such a big turnout?
Well, I'm not sure if they came for us or Vertical Horizon. But I think Danny White's vision for this program is right on. I want this to be a fun environment that people want to come to. I want to put a product on the field that people are excited to see. I want to run the type of program that kids want to come play in. I want to have an open door policy that our alumni want to come back and be a part of. And Danny's doing some things around campus that make people want to come here and be a part of this. Football is too much work not to be a lot of fun, and we want to have a really good team, but we want to enjoy what we do as well.
Coach, on the first day of spring, you talked about the thing that you thought maybe was lacking the most from last year was leadership sometime. What have you seen throughout the spring from some of the guys that you challenged in the leadership positions?
Well, guys are starting to understand what it means to be a good teammate. I don't think you can be a good leader until you figure out how to be a good teammate first. I didn't find a team that was really close coming out of last year, and I think that's natural anytime you have a tough year. But the guys are starting to develop a close bond, understanding how to take care of each other, and I think naturally some guys emerge from that as the guys that are at the vanguard of that. And we've had some guys on both sides of the ball that are starting to step up in leadership roles. Now we're going to continue to develop them. Listen, this is their team. I think every team belongs to the players, and our players are starting to understand how to take the team and manage it themselves.
Coach, you had mentioned that you guys are still implementing things. How much of the offense would you say you were able to implement in the spring and leading into this game?
Well, we probably only have about half of it in it. If I was going to pick a number or a fraction, and you know, part of this offense and what makes it successful is being able to throw a lot of different things and different looks at teams, and you throw it at them fast. And the more that our players can learn in the off season, I think that'll help us going into fall to get enough of the rest of the offense in that we can be very multiple and dangerous.
Coach, you guys have been scrimmaging lately. What are some of the things you were most impressed with from the guys after this spring game?
Well, the best thing for me about the entire spring was we got out of it healthy. We're not a deep team right now at several positions. We're still looking for some guys to step up. We didn't have any major injuries in the spring, and that's rare, and I'm really excited about that. But love the work ethic from the team. I can't tell you how thrilled I am with how much they're buying in and how much effort they're giving us. And I think with a healthy team, if they really engage and go to work in the off season, I'll love where we are.
Your first spring and your first game as a head coach, personally, how did it feel, and what did it feel like to preside over everything?
For me, I didn't know what to do with myself. We decided to go with this format for spring, where we tried to divide the teams evenly. I think it would have been really easy to put our best guys on offense on one side and put them on the same team as our best defense and watch the #1 offense go up and down the field, watch the #1 defense have great plays. I want our guys to learn to compete and to love to compete. We made it as even as we could. Our coaches are very competitive, and it got competitive with the two staffs on either side. I wanted to let them play the game out and compete against each other. Made it tough on me because I was standing there with my hands in my pocket wanting to help and call plays and do other things, but it was a different perspective for me, but I loved watching.
You got a punter / tight end. That was an impressive touchdown catch at the end of the game there, Matt Loudermilk.
That was a couple of really good catches by tight ends tonight.
What did you think about Kruzik?
Kruzik has a great arm. Really natural thrower, has a good stroke and a big arm. We're glad to have him. I know the tie to the program in the past, and I think that's pretty special. Garrett has a long way to go, making sure that he's familiar with what he's doing, going through his reads and taking what people give him. But the talent is definitely there. He had a good spring.
Talk about you talked about the fast-paced offense tonight. Talk about how the defense reacted to that play. Were you happy with what you saw?
Yeah, like I said a bunch of times, our defense has been ahead of our offense, but that's to be expected. I think it's a more veteran group that we have on defense. It's a little easier to install defense than it is offense. 5 guys can bust on defense, and if one guy makes a phenomenal play, it's still a loss of 2. On offense, you need 11 guys to do their job and do it well most times for a play to work. So it's a little easier for defense to get up speed than offense. But I feel pretty good about where we are defensively right now. With a fall camp going forward, we've had some guys that have really stepped up, and I think we can have a pretty salty defense this fall.
What do you think of your play of your offensive line? Do you think they're going to be physical enough to handle some of the really good teams like Michigan, Maryland, and others on your schedule?
Of all the groups on our team, I would say the offensive line improved the most this spring. They were really young last year. I took over a team, I think they rushed for 950 yards on the season last year. We popped some runs out there today, and that's with taking our offensive line and splitting it into 2 groups. So the guys that are used to running together in practice with the ones work together. They were split up on both sides. A couple of the guys didn't play in the second half. We need to continue to get better, offensive line and everywhere else on our team. But Coach Austin's done a great job with them, and like I said, I think we've improved more there than we have anywhere else.
How important is this summer going to be, just getting the guys continuing ready to play in this system with the running and getting in better shape and stuff like that?
That was my message to them. I think the guys are starting to develop a confidence in what we're doing. They're finding their love for the game, and they're loving being at practice and being around the program. The last thing we can do right now is put it in cruise control over the summer. our guys need to continue being in, learning the offense so that we have our full arsenal come fall. Our guys need to continue to get leaner and in better shape so that they can play at the pace that we want them to. We need to get stronger and faster. The guys are going to take a couple weeks here and make sure they're finishing academically this semester, and then we're going to get back to work. And really the work that we put in from now until August will have a lot to do with how successful we are in the fall.
2 more questions.
Coach, were you keeping count at how many plays were run out there? I mean, our heads were spinning upstairs. We couldn't keep track of everything that was happening. Do you know how many?
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had no statistician.
Yeah.
So that.
I'm used to that pace. It's going to get even a little faster than that. But like I said, I've been shocked with how quickly they picked up our pace. The players went fast from day one here. I think they understood what they were getting into when they took the field day one of spring practice. Like I said, the execution within that tempo needs to get better now.
Do you have a number though?
We didn't track the number of plays. We'll see it when we watch the film. We'll probably watch the film over the weekend and Monday. But I know we got a lot of snaps off, and really you saw it at the beginning of the second half. When you can get that many plays off, the defense is going to wear out before an offense. And some of the runs that were getting a yard in the first half popped for 8 or 10 in the second half. So the more we can put the foot to the pedal, the better off we'll be, particularly at the end of the game.
We're going to have 2 more, Adam, and then we'll have Shannon.
Coach, in the radio broadcast, Mark said you went around the room in the locker room and asked, had everyone say why they loved football. Why'd you do that? Why was that important to do that?
Well, listen, I've been on successful teams and I've been on a couple that weren't. When you have a tough season, it's real easy to forget why you're there and why you're doing it. And a team can splinter. I hope that with the spring these guys had and the offseason these guys had, that they're enjoying it again. It's hard to work really hard at something if you don't love it. I don't care what line of work you're in. And all these guys are here because they love football and they want to be a part of something special. And the more we can realize that we're doing what we love, the better off we'll be.
Shannon.
Coach, what did you learn about your quarterbacks tonight? Each of your quarterbacks.
You know, I've been watching the quarterbacks all spring. It was very similar to what we've seen all spring. And all spring, all the guys at quarterback have made good plays. What we need to do is continue to get more consistent, and that'll come, especially at the quarterback position, as they get more familiar with the scheme. There were some plays out there that we didn't make that we should have, just because the quarterbacks aren't familiar enough yet to not just understand what they need to do, but understand why we're doing it and where a ball should go based on a coverage or a look. Playing quarterback in this offense is one of the hardest things to do in sports, in my opinion, because after a play is over, you have to look at a sideline, get a signal, decipher what the signal means, get everybody lined up, check the coverage, the secondary for coverage, check the front to see if everybody's coming, change protection if you need to, know what your job is, snap the ball, and go through a read. And it all happens in about 12 seconds. We need fast blinkers here, guys that can process things fast. But even if you're a guy that processes things really fast, it takes a while to get to that point where you're comfortable, where you're not thinking anymore and you're reacting. So I thought Justin made a lot of good plays. Nick Patty made a lot of good plays. Garrett made some great throws. And Harris, DeNovo, all those guys did some good things. Pratt, they did some good things. It needs to get more consistent, but it will as these guys get familiar with what they're doing.
Coach Frost, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Coach.
Players will be in here momentarily, actually in a couple seconds.